There's a full-blown healthcare crisis in Magnolia County. People across the region are struggling due to a lack of healthcare facilities, and as a result, mortality rates are on the rise. And Sheila? Well, she's been all over the issue, campaigning hard, stating that if she had power, she'd crank up the pressure on Governor Timmons and force her hand. After all, Sheila's got a bit of lingering animosity from that governor's race, and honestly, it shows. Most of her ads, let's just say they aren't the warmest towards Governor Timmons. Sheila's been vocal, stating that the governor doesn't care about Magnolia County. According to her, Timmons is too busy chasing transit projects to focus on real issues, like building a much-needed hospital right here in Magnolia County. But here's what Sheila doesn't seem to know. Things have been happening, just not in the spotlight. Sometimes when you're out of office, you're out of the loop. Because just a few days after Sheila's first ad slamming Governor Timmons hit the airwaves, County Executive King and Governor Timmons hold a joint press conference.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today, I am pleased to announce a significant step forward in improving healthcare access for Magnolia County. Over the past several months, University of Superior has been working closely with local leaders to identify the best possible location for a new hospital. After a thorough review, we have selected Paradise Bay as the preferred site for this important facility. This hospital will bring essential healthcare services closer to home for so many of our residents, offering high-quality care in a convenient location. And while those plans are moving forward, we are also opening a clinic in Bend, ensuring critical services are available to those who need them most, right where they live. Together, these initiatives represent a major investment in the health and well-being of our community.
Folks, this is big news for Magnolia County. This is a testament to what happens when you put politics aside and you put people first. Let's give credit to where it's due. Governor Timmons' dedication to this region, along with the mayors of Bend and Paradise Bay, made this project happen quickly and smoothly. And for that, I thank them and everyone else involved in making this project a reality.
Residents across the county are thrilled. Soon, healthcare will be more accessible for everyone. And the hospital? It's not just about healthcare. It's going to be a major regional draw, bringing increased prosperity to the whole of Magnolia County. And that's not all. This new facility comes with a host of other improvements: a new interchange on River Street, a business park near the hospital, and affordable housing in Bend, right near the clinic. And the timing of all these announcements couldn't be worse for Sheila's campaign. But hey, that's a story for another time. And if you're ready to start adding big buildings to the region like this hospital, hit the like button. And if you're mourning the loss of the area's small town charm, hit the like button for that too, and let me know how you feel down in the comments. Or leave an emoji representing healthcare for the sake of engagement. But before we dive in, can you believe that it's October already? I'm already getting a whole bunch of toy catalogs in the mail, and you better believe that my kids are all over them. And this is a great reminder for me that the holidays are just around the corner, and that I better not procrastinate on picking up gifts like I usually do. It's also a good reminder of just how important it is to set budgets, especially around this time of year. And thankfully, today's video sponsor, Rocket Money, is here to help. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you cancel subscriptions, lower bills, and manage your money better. I've been using Rocket Money to set budgets and analyze my spending habits, which is absolutely critical around the holidays. I've also used Rocket Money to cancel subscriptions that I no longer want. You know, like canceling that one streaming service after your favorite show has aired its last episode and the next episode won't come out until 2026. You know which one I'm talking about, and you're probably bummed about it too. Rocket Money has helped save its customers up to $740 per year when they use all of its features, with over 500 million in canceled subscriptions. To save more and spend less, join the over 5 million members using Rocket Money today. Go to rocketmoney.com/cityplanner or click on the link in the description to get started for free. You can also unlock even more features with premium. That's rocketmoney.com/cityplanner to get started for free. A huge shout out to Rocket Money for sponsoring today's video. Now let's get back to it. Hello and welcome back to Magnolia County. The very first thing I want to build today is going to be our largest project, our hospital. And for this, we're going to be redeveloping this old quarry into our hospital campus. Now, I can already hear some of you questioning whether this is the most logical choice or not. And, you know, I think you can make a case that maybe we shouldn't do it here. But I also think that you can make a case that we should, because most of these quarries, at least in my research, are supposed to have some sort of post-pit plan. And that could be that it becomes a lake, it becomes a golf course, or it's filled in for future redevelopment. And in this case, I'm going to say that we're filling it in with some less desirable material so that we can build on top of it. So the first thing I want to do is delete this site. And look at everyone loves that. And that's because this is very noxious. It's very loud. It's not exactly the most desirable thing to live next to. I'd imagine they have blasting. So to see that thing go away would be a welcome thing for most residents around here. Now, I want to take our existing road right here, Dean Street, and extend it up. But I'm going to do something maybe a little different than you might be anticipating. So we're going to stop that right about here. And then I want to think about where this goes in the future, because I think that Dean Street is going to be the link between Paradise Bay and Bend. Now, hear me out here. This road could proceed up diagonally and then turn into this road, which basically perfectly lines up with Myrtle Street. And that's all because of our Jeffersonian grid. Myrtle Street becomes the Bedford Highway, which links right here into this highway, which goes all the way up the coast to Bend. So this is going to be a really critical connection. And to basically delineate the plan, I'm going to upgrade this right here. The reason why I care so much about this is we are going to have an alignment for this street, and I don't want it to be dictated by the existing roads. So you might think we'll just sweep it around right here. I don't want to do that. So what I'm going to do instead is plan for where this is going to go in the future. And reasonably, this is likely going to go like this. So I think we'll leave this connection being a little bit awkward, and it's going to turn in like that. And then we are going to urbanize this street as well and bring this all the way back to our switch on factory. So you can see that we're starting to extend the city a little bit further back. Now, the next thing I want to do is build the road that would go along the side of here. So this is going to be the road that basically follows the property line of this farm that has yet to be redeveloped. And now we'll urbanize this road as well. And then finally, I want to take our existing grid right here and tee into this road. So now I want to place the hospital. And for that, we'll need to go into our progression menu and actually unlock it. So for this, we'll go underneath healthcare, and then our hospital is 2 development points of our 99 that are currently available. Now I'm going to place this thing, and then we'll use move it to actually move this thing around. And one of the things I noticed right away with this is that the parking facility for this is pretty unreasonable. It's really, really tiny. This is a regional medical center, and I would expect that people would travel from quite a ways away to get here. And in addition, we're really close to the airport, so there's a chance that there's some synergy there as well. So we're gonna try to make a reasonable parking facility for this. So I'm gonna pull this thing out here, and then let's use our parking lot roads to actually design parking in this area that suits this facility. So I'll begin with our basic parking lot road, and I'll pull this along here. I want this to be nice and straight though. So I think we'll focus on the grid along Dean Street. And then I want to center this, the entryway into this facility. Oh my goodness, and I cloned it. Not what I meant to do. This spending all of the money. There we go though. So we got the facility back here. Now I'm gonna run our top road. So this will be the road that fronts the hospital right here. And we're likely gonna wrap around, and that'll leave our entryway right here. That's right in the center. So now we're gonna use our parking lot roads and just go up and down here. Okay, and if you're wondering where I got these, I made these with the road builder. It's just an alleyway with parking on either side and sidewalk on one side. And now the magic of these is turning on anarchy. And then as long as we toggle everything off, we can slide these things around. So now I want to finish this off, but I want to have a road that goes behind here so there's more than one entryway in. And I want to give this facility some space. We don't need to crowd it in here. We've got plenty of space. Now, the one thing you might be thinking is, why did I add all of these and we've got the parking over here? And what am I going to do with all of these? I think I'm going to try to get rid of the parking in here and still have this hospital be functional. So what we'll do is use the better bulldozer, and I want to delete certain elements inside of here. And then I want to take a look at the underlying circulation pattern inside of here and get rid of some of that as well. And now I'm tempted to pause for a moment because I think that there are a couple of upgrades for this facility that we should probably consider before I completely change everything. First and foremost, we have the helipad. I absolutely want this one. To me, that makes this a truly regional facility. Then we also have our specialized treatment ward. And if this were a part of the university, I think that they would absolutely have this. So we're going to add that on. And that changes this area that we were just working in anyway. And then we also have the trauma center, which occurs basically inside of the building. But I like the idea of this actually improving the chances of a patient recovering from their condition. So we're going to add this as well. That's going to put us into some debt. And you know what? I welcome it. I absolutely welcome us actually struggling with our budget. So I'm going to get rid of now, again, these add-ons, although this time it's part of the sub-building. And then I want to modify the surfaces. Oh my goodness, I give up. This is one of the more frustrating things. I don't know how to make good angles using the surface tool. I just need to step away. I just need to step away. Now we're gonna go back to the better bulldozer, and I want to remove some of the things around here that make this feel like it's a parcel, a rectangular parcel that is. It would be nice if there was a dedicated access to the ambulances. So I think what I'm going to do is just slide this over. And then we're going to give the ambulances their own road into this facility. And the big cleanup thing I want to do here is you can see that there are just a million crosswalks to the point that it doesn't really make any sense. So I'm going to get rid of almost all of these. And there we go. That gives off much more parking lot vibes. So I think that that is pretty darn good. Now, the next thing I want to think about is the office complex that's going to surround this area, because this is really kind of a secondary thing and it's not at all a part of this medical complex. So for this, I'm going to go into the zoning toolkit and actually disable all the zoning on this parking lot road. And now I'll just throw in a normal local road back here. And now I want to maximize the amount of developable space that we have back here. And you know, I was contemplating trying to break this down further so we could have even more zoning in here. But now that I think about it, it's raining. We would need some sort of a pond back here because of all the impervious surface area that we're adding. I'm going to add in mostly offices to this area, but I do want to have a bit of commercial, something so that the folks here could go and grab a bite to eat, maybe some gas, something like that. And I think I'm going to search for a gas station. And then I'll place another commercial site right here and one more right here off from Dean Street, but not facing Dean Street. And for these ones, I don't much care what they are. I'm going to let it zone in naturally. I just want it to be one site and not two. And now we'll fill this area in with a bunch of office. Now for these, I'm going to try something unique. I'm going to let this fill in as it fills in. And then I'm going to respond to parking based upon the buildings that fill in. And now all of these buildings have spawned in, And now I can make some decisions about what I want to do with these. So my main consideration here is going to be parking, because some of these buildings have it. So if we've got buildings like this, we don't need to add extra parking. But if we have buildings like this one, I don't know where you park if you work at one of these buildings. So with that in mind, I'm going to add the parking myself and then spread the buildings out. And there we go. And you can kind of see this now feels like it was built together, like this parking was shared between these buildings and the buildings built at the exact same time. So this is the sort of consideration I want to give to each asset that is spawned through here. Some of them can stand on their own. These two right here, for instance, have parking, where these two do not. So they need some sort of a parking amenity. Otherwise, they shouldn't exist. So that's what we're going to do. We'll go through each of these and try to make them feel rational. Okay, I think that this might be the strangest way that I've ever developed anything, but the main thought was that I'm not good at plopping things. I'm not good at it. I've tried. I just don't have the creative flair for it. But what I can do is zone buildings and respond to the ones that I get in. And reasonably, that's kind of how planning works. I don't think about buildings and what the building should look like. Not generally, unless it's a form-based code. In general, you set the zoning and then you respond to the buildings that come in. So that, for me, feels a lot more comfortable. And as a result, I think that what we have here makes a lot of sense. So try to add some paths as well so that there's a little bit more recreational opportunity in this area for all the different employees that are here. That would be something that, especially in a place like this, where there might not otherwise be areas or reasons to walk around, having paths through here might make you active on your lunch break. So the last thing I really want to focus on here is this. So we have a water spawn point, and I don't know that I did a great job with this. So I want this to go up to about the 100-meter mark. So I'm going to drag this up, and hopefully that gets us to where we need to be. I'm going to speed this along for a moment. And it took a bit of playing, but I think that we are in a good spot with this. So I will wait to make this look a little bit nicer till we detail. But for now, I think it's looking pretty darn good. And with our hospital campus complete, let's move on to building a new interchange. We're going to be building our new interchange right here near the switch-on factory. But before we build it, I feel like I have to explain why we are building it. And really, this is all about connectivity between Bend and the hospital and the university and the hospital, considering this is a university hospital after all. Right now, the trips to get to either of those locations from the hospital would be pretty bad. You could go in the wrong direction to get on this expressway to get on the highway. You could also go past the switch-on factory and then get to the highway by making a left on a very congested stretch of road, a right to take a rural back road that's pretty slow, or go through the village of Hiddenbrook. None of those are really good options. And then in the future, the most direct route will likely be taking this arterial straight through, but who knows when that'll be complete. So for now, I think that the best choice for us is to build this interchange, and it would have support from switch-on anyway because of the proximity to the highway. Maybe you could even get them to chip in on this project. So with that in mind, we are going to build an interchange over here, but we've got some constraints. So you might remember that we preserved this home right here. We didn't use eminent domain on it. And as a result, it's going to make it challenging to build an interchange right here because they would fight tooth and nail to not have a ramp going right past their house. So I think that we will have a ramp right here, and we'll have another one right here. And then we're going to have both an on and an off ramp, a combined on and off ramp to get to this side of the highway. So we have full movements onto the highway from this arterial. So let's begin by taking a look at our terrain, and I think I'll work on the easiest movements first, and that's likely going to be this one over here near switch-on. And I'm going to slope from back here, and what I think I'll do is I'll bring the ramp further back so that the sloping isn't quite as extreme. And there we go, one movement down. The next movement gets a little bit more challenging, and that's going to be the one that we have to work around our transformer station right here. So for this one, we'll again add some lanes. Then we'll do a bit of grading. And then we'll draw this in, but I think I'm going to draw this one in reverse. And there we go. So we've got our two easy movements done. The more challenging movement is over here. And though I could try to do a bunch of grading to make this one work, I just don't see that as the most plausible way of this happening. It's a lot of soil to move around. So I think we are going to have a fairly large bridge over here. So with that in mind, what I'm going to do is use our 2-lane highway temporarily. I want to make sure I've got my 90 on, and we're going to use our continuous tool. And then I want to use a very gentle step right here. And I want this to drop down. So we'll go down about 2%. And then we'll work to get this to 0 as quickly as we can. Now, I connected this temporarily, but I am going to do a bit of grading over here because I can't have this coming in at that angle like that. It has to be at a 90. And that is all about sight distances. So I'm going to build this out a little bit right here. And then we'll add our highway connection and recreate that bridge. And then finally, we'll make our final connection. I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it. And you know, I'm not sure that I made that any better, but I feel better about it. And I'm curious to know how you feel about it. So let me know in the comments below. I think it is better. Now, the last thing I want to do here is ensure that our turn lanes make sense. And I think I want to give a little bit of extra queuing distance, at least to the movements coming off the highway, and give them dedicated lefts. So for this, we'll need to use an asymmetric. And then I'll use traffic to remove that left from the right-hand lane. And now we've got dedicated lanes for both of those. I'm going to also remove the U-turns. Those really bug me. And then we've done the exact same thing on the other off-ramp. The only other thing I want to do is we've got a signal right here, and I don't think that is a necessity. So I'll remove that signal. And if we wanted to make this any better for the folks trying to leave here, I think the way that we do it is to add an asymmetric road segment right here. And basically, this will give us a dedicated left-hand turn lane onto that ramp if we are coming from this road. The final thing I want to do is a little bit of grading right here. And reasonably, I know that I'm not supposed to be using this mod right now. This is going to be a problem, but I'm going to add a retaining wall right here. I think this is actually the correct solution in this area. There we go. Yeah, that's definitely the way that this should be. A nice retaining wall with the sound wall on the other side. That is looking really, really good. And I'm realizing there's one more thing that we've got to do, and that's make sure that our lanes make sense, because right here we definitely have lanes that do not make sense. So we'll focus on our lane math and make sure that our merge lanes are good enough, because this one right here is probably too short. This one we're going to live with because we have the bridge and we can't expand that. But now I think we're in a good spot all the way around. And with our interchange complete, let's move on to building our Bend Healthcare Clinic. For our Bend Healthcare Clinic, we're going to finally redevelop our former bus depot site right here. And honestly, this is the very best location that we could possibly have hoped for a clinic. Our healthcare coverage in this area is absolutely terrible, and it's basically only this area. So if we pop a clinic right here, we should have absolutely fantastic healthcare coverage everywhere in Bend. So with that in mind, let's talk about the layout of this campus. So I'm thinking that we will have our clinic right about here, and we are going to completely max it out. So we'll need to add some parking around it. And then above it, this is a little bit higher ground. We are going to have some of our affordable housing and hopefully a ramp coming down so that folks who are working at the clinic could live close by if they want to. The first thing I want to do though is clear the site. We've got a lot of trees, and I think that these are going to just get in the way. And then this site is not very orderly right now, so I want to do a bit of grading, and you can see what a challenging site this is based on the grading. It's kind of a basin right here, and that's not going to fly. So I want to create at least 2 terraces. So I think our first will be right here. And then our second will be right here. And I'm imagining that we're just pushing a lot of dirt around on the site itself. And then once again, I'm going to use the extended road upgrades, even though I know it is depreciated. Once Anarchy gets updated, I will fix this. And there we go. Now, before we place any roads, I'm going to place the clinic right away. And this is simply so that I know how this is going to lay out. And I put this right back there. And like I mentioned, I want the upgrade for the ambulance depot right away. And now to connect this facility to Ridge Street, I'm going to use one of our parking lot roads. I'll just run that along the side of the building here. Although I think I might need to move this over. So I think something like this will work, but I want to have 2 ways out of here. The last thing you want would be for this road to get blocked and for no one from the hospital to be able to leave, or the clinic rather. So let's go ahead and slope up from here. And there we go. That is a fairly steep grade right there, but I think it'll do the trick for us. Now, in terms of parking in this location, what I think I'm going to do is once again, use our parking lot roads. I'm going to upgrade these so that we have parking across from the entryway into here. And as I was thinking about it, I decided to extend this over just a little bit further. And what I think I may do is add 1 extension wing over here, knowing that we have a huge deficit in our healthcare system and we have just enough space for this. Now let's switch gears and build our affordable housing. And for this, we're just going to use a normal city street. And I want to make sure that we've got enough space that we can have buildings on either side of the road. So let's actually begin by eliminating some zoning. And then we'll draw our road. Now this is going to limit the size of our building, but honestly, I don't want a super tall building anyway. So I think I'm going to be okay with this. We'll go with a 3x3, and I'm going to draw 2 of those, and then we're going to grade out on this side to get another one. And now we need parking in between these. And I think I want to go for the modest parking lot, which obviously is really large in comparison to the amount of space that we have. So we'll anarchy for a minute. And that's not perfect, but I could hide that with some landscaping. I think we're moving in a good direction. Now, I know that I want to have some sort of a path from over in this location down to the hospital for the employees that could potentially live up here. So what we'll do is level this out, and then I'm going to pull this back a little further, and then we're going to slope from up here down to here. And truthfully, that's going to be really steep. I may need to run this all the way around here, and it's going to be just fine. And there we go. I think that is about what I was hoping for. And this just basically gives everyone a place to park. You can see there's 1 or 2 parking spaces on each of these buildings, and this one's falling off the side of a cliff. So this gives the folks who live here an opportunity to potentially park at home, even if that's not the best option for people. We've got to give options. I don't think this many apartments would ever be approved with no parking. So not in a city this size anyway. And the other thing that would never fly in an area like this is no parks. So let's add 1 small park specifically to serve this area. And I want to see if I can fit that back here. And boy, oh boy, we don't have a lot of space right here, but I feel like we have really maximized what we can do in this area. And I really like the way that it's turned out. And it also gives us a little bit of space for some sort of future expansion if we need it. Now, there's one small thing that's not directly related to this that I think that we have to cover here in Bend, and that is death care. When the Economy 2.0 patch came out, we removed a bunch of our capacity over here at our crematorium, and I happen to know that this thing is suffering. It's been suffering for a while. So while we are over here, let's take a look at this. Look at this. The bodies are piling up. I'm guessing that we're not all in use. We have to burn faster. That's the bigger problem. So let's increase our refrigerator size, and then we'll also add an additional incinerator so we can process our bodies faster. Everyone loves that. Seems like a strange thing to be excited about. I just want to look around to see if we've got bodies all over. It looks like we're okay. Interestingly, it seems like it was the fridge and the ability to burn the bodies quickly that was our biggest concern. So now that we have that, we should be in a good place. And seeing all of these cars pouring into this area makes me realize that the next thing we have to do is make a couple of transit improvements. If we're being completely honest with ourselves, serving the developments that we've created today with transit would be pretty easy. We've got a route going right past the hospital. All we'd have to do is add a couple of stops and we'd be good to go. But I don't want to do that. I want to use the hospital and the clinic as the rationale for restructuring some of the routes in this area. So rather than just dropping a stop right here, I want to zoom out and see if there are general improvements that we could make in this area. And I know that in the previous episode, a number of you said that we really need to serve this area with transit, and I think that we can do it. But what we've got to do is take this red route and bring it into this neighborhood and serve a portion of this neighborhood with the red route. And then we can repurpose some of this time on the teal route to serve that other neighborhood. And while we're over here, we should take a look at the switch-on factory and that new bus station that we added over here, because we've got some crazy stuff happening with routes, and I think it's an easy fix and we can make the service more logical. So let's start with the red route. And for this one, I think we need to add this segment of road right here. And this segment will allow us to reroute this route straight through this neighborhood. And you can see that prior to having that stretch of road here, it would have been completely impossible. So with the route now going through the neighborhood, we can serve these existing stops, add additional stops, and then serve our hospital campus. And now I want to look at this teal route because this is going to be the route that really changes the most, which might sound a little bit crazy, but I think it has to if we're going to serve this area. So rather than looping through the way that it does currently, I'm going to remove a couple of these stops. And now we can completely rethink this route. So what I'm thinking is we are going to send this way through the neighborhood. And then we'll send this down this way. And then I'll send this through this neighborhood, and we're going to turn around on this block right here. And this isn't ideal. We're still not getting to the top up here, but I'm still concerned about the bus being able to get up there. And I think that if we want to serve this with something rational, it would have to be either trolley buses or trams. And we don't have trams anywhere near this right now. We don't have trolley buses in the game. But this at least gets us some service in this area. And then we'll add stops in front of our shopping center as well. And then I will stop what I was doing here. I don't know why I decided to do this. We'll just remove those waypoints and have a logical bus route. You could still walk from this apartment over here, no problem. So obviously this is removing some service in this lower density neighborhood, but just bluntly, there isn't enough density to justify having service over here rather than having it in a corridor that has a whole bunch of destinations and some higher density uses. So I think that this is a much more logical route. And I am going to leave all of these bus stops here, all these signs. I think that that would happen. And in the future, who knows, maybe we end up with another route in this area. Next, let's switch gears and focus on the routes that are serving our switch-on factory. And this is an area that I think made a lot of sense at one point in time and now no longer does. So this route has been out here forever, directly serving the switch-on factory, and they were contributing to the route. And that was before anything else was out here outside of this little shopping center. But now that we've got a whole neighborhood and another shopping center, I think it makes sense to take this route and make it a little bit more legible and make it make more sense for more people. And for that, we basically got to stop serving this building directly. So we won't have a rear door and front door service. Instead, we'll have a side access, and then we'll serve this bus station over here. So I would imagine that the Switch On folks are not thrilled with this change, but maybe accepting of it because maybe the transit agency will actually take more of the expense on. Maybe they're just happy that we're going to give them a shelter right in the side here. And that's where we'll begin. I'm going to place a transit shelter right here on both sides of the road, regardless of whether it's merited or not, simply to make the Switch On factory happy with the change that we are making. And then we'll give them a new path connection into their local path network. And for some reason that made my bus stops give up on this area, so I just added them back in. And now we're ready to reroute our routes. I'll just take this and move it to the front here, and then in the rear, we'll do the exact same thing. Now it's trying to turn around at Switch On. I'm just gonna take this and we'll drop this right into our bus station, a more logical place to turn around. And then finally, I saw some wonkiness over here, and I'm not 100% sure what this is, but I assume it's these crazy waypoints. So I'll remove those, and then I'm gonna add one new one right here so that we stay on River Street and stop getting on the highway. That is a much better route. And then finally, I'm gonna make a change over here near our new clinic that might be a little bit controversial, but what I'm gonna do is basically reroute this route to go in front of the clinic. And then I'm gonna add another stop on Main Street. Another couple stops anyway. So the idea here is that we can take this route and do more with it by bringing it near the hospital. And now we're serving this area with a bit more density and providing that vital healthcare connection. And I think that that route makes a ton of sense as well now. And now with our transit improvements in place, let's move on to a bit of landscaping and detailing. And bluntly, our projects today were relatively small, so there's not a lot of landscaping to do, but I want to make sure that everything feels nice and orderly and organized, and that we have nice manicured grass everywhere and trees planted in nice rows. So I'm going to focus on that. But the other thing I want to focus on is growth. And for that, we are going to crank this thing into high speed and see how much we grow, because now that we have these new healthcare facilities and that our death care is figured out, I think that things should start to really accelerate, and we should start to see some serious population move into this city. And there we go. I really think that this is turning out well. Now, the one thing that I've been noticing is that our population is starting to explode. I've seen it upwards of 200 people per hour moving in, and we've only built these 4 residential buildings this entire episode. So what I'm going to do now is just kind of take a step back and let things normalize, because I think that healthcare was a major reason why our population wasn't growing. So let's let this run for a couple minutes and we'll see where things shake out. I've let this thing run for about 10 minutes. We've gained about 1,000 in population, and it's still going up. We're getting about 160 people per hour or so. Now, all of that said, I had to make one small off-camera change, and that is at our death care facility, we were still not in a great spot. And what I realized is that now that we added that new freezer capacity and that new incinerator, there were a whole lot of other people we had to pick up. So I added these 2 new hearse garages, and now we're at a pretty good spot. We've completely cleared out everything here, which was not happening before. The other thing that I did is I modified the operating districts of all the clinics over here. So this clinic now operates within just a couple of our districts, really focusing on downtown, and then the areas over here near Myrtle Park, the township of Woods Bend. And there's a little bit of overlap with the clinics. So downtown is served by the downtown clinic and this new Riverside clinic. So if there are a real big problem in the downtown area, we'll get it cleared out. And that has ultimately led to all of our health concerns being cleared, and things are now looking really, really good. And I expect that throughout the next episode, if I were to build absolutely 0 residential, we'll continue to add thousands in population now that we have resolved those issues. And now with all of that complete, there's only one more thing left to do. That's take inventory of what we've done with a brief city tour. I don't know about you, but I really love builds like this. Builds where we take one specific asset and think of it as less of an asset and more of a building that you have to actually fit into your community in a realistic way. And because of that, we got rid of that little parking facility here and built this massive one. And honestly, this is the thing that I'm the most proud of in this build and the thing that I'm the most disappointed in, because this medical facility employs 200 people, but for whatever reason, we've only got 4 cars that are actually parked in here. 2 of them decided to leave. So I wish that this drew more people to it, and in the future, I think I can fudge it and make this parking lot fill up, but it's a project for another day. But there is one more project that I do have for today, and it's for you. I need a name for this new neighborhood. I've taken this area, which was the township of Plainview, and broken it up and created a new neighborhood, and I need a name for it. So if you have a name for the neighborhood, drop it in the comments below, but I want you to include the word Chuckles somewhere in the comment, because that is going to be my search filter for this entire naming scheme for this neighborhood. So include the word Chuckles and your name for the neighborhood, and I'll choose the one that I think fits the best for this area. Speaking of names, we have one to incorporate from the previous episode, and this comes by way of Astronash, who suggests that we rename this area Governor's Hill. And in light of the story that I told a little bit earlier today, I really love that. So let's go for it. And we know that the governor that's being referred to here is Sheila, certainly not Emily. And lastly, I wanted to talk about the use of the wave decals in this lake. Now, I purposely didn't use them, and a number of people wondered why. And that's really because I imagine this lake being a no-wake lake or a low-speed lake, so we wouldn't have lots of waves in here. Now, I do want to use those assets, but I think they make a lot more sense out in Lake Superior than they do in this little lake right here. So I think it's about time that we focus on fixing up the shores, and at that point, we'll have lots of those decals placed, and we'll try to make these beaches feel really special. But for now, I think we're going to leave it here, and I really hope that you've enjoyed this one. If you did, please hit the like button. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. And I want to thank you so much for joining me today. It's an absolute privilege to be able to bring these videos to you, and I really appreciate that you've taken time out of your day to hang out with me and play a little bit of City Skylines too. I really appreciate it. I don't take that for granted. It means a ton to me. Can't wait to see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.